Vianney was born on the 8th of May 1786, in the French town of Dardilly, France, and was baptized the same day. His parents, Mathieu Vianney and his wife Marie Belize, had 6 children, of whom John was the 4th. The Vianneys were devout Catholics who helped the poor. Vianney's paternal grandparents once hosted Benedict Joseph Labor, the patron saint of the homeless, who passed through Dardilly on his pilgrimage to Rome in 1770. By 1790, the anti-clerical terror phase of the French Revolution forced many loyal priests to hide from the regime in order to carry out the sacraments in their parish. Even though to do so had been declared illegal, the Vianneys traveled to distant farms to attend masses celebrated on the run. Realizing that such priests risked their lives day by day, Vianney began to look upon them as heroes. He received his first communion catechetical instruction in a private home from 2 nuns whose communities had been dissolved during the Revolution. He made his first communion at the age of 13 in a neighbor's kitchen. During the Mass, the windows were covered so that the light of the candles could not be seen from outside. The Catholic Church was re-established in France in 1802 by Napoleon Bonaparte, resulting in religious peace throughout the country, culminating in a concordat. By this time, Vianney was concerned about his future vocation and longed for an education. He was 20 when his father allowed him to leave the farm to be taught at a presbytery school in the neighboring village of Écully, conducted by the Abbé Bally. The school taught arithmetic, history, geography and Latin. Vianney struggled with school, especially with Latin, since his past education had been interrupted by the French Revolution. Only because of Vianney's deepest desire to be a priest. Vianney's studies were interrupted in 1809 when he was drafted into Napoleon's armies. He would have been exempt, as an ecclesiastical student, but Napoleon had withdrawn the exemption in certain dioceses because of his need for soldiers in his fight against Spain. 2 days after he had to report at Lyons, he became ill and was hospitalized, during which time his draft left without him. Once released from the hospital, on the 5th of January, he was sent to Rouen for another draft. 6. He went into a church to pray, and fell behind the group. He met a young man who volunteered to guide him back to his group, but instead led him deep into the Forêt Mountains, to the village of Les Naux, where deserters had gathered. Vianney lived there for 14 months, hidden in the byre attached to a farmhouse, and under the care of Claudine Fayette, a widow with 4 children. He assumed the name Jerome Vincent, and under that name, he opened a school for village children. Since the harsh weather isolated the town during the winter, the deserters were safe from gendarmes. However, after the snow melted, gendarmes came to the town constantly, searching for deserters. During these searches, Vianney hid inside stacks of fermenting hay in Fayette's barn. An imperial proclamation in March 1810 granted amnesty to all deserters, 10, enabling Vianney to go back legally to Écully, where he resumed his studies. He was tonsured in 1811, and in 1812 he went to the minor seminary at Verres-en-Forêt. In the autumn of 1813, he was sent to the major seminary at Lyons. Considered too slow, he was returned to Bally. However, Bally persuaded the vicar general that Vianney's piety was great enough to compensate for his ignorance, and the seminarian received minor orders and the subdiaconate on the 2nd of July 1814, was ordained a deacon in June 1815, and was ordained a priest on the 12th of August 1815 in the Couvent des Minimes de Grenoble. He said his first mass the next day, and was appointed the assistant to Bally in Écully. In 1818, shortly after the death of Bally, Vianney was appointed parish priest of the parish of Ars, a town of 230 inhabitants. When Vianney's bishop first assigned him to Ars, Vianney got lost trying to find the town. 2 young men tending flocks in the fields pointed him in the right direction. With Catherine Lasson and Benedicta Lardet, he established La Providence, a home for girls. As parish priest, Vianney realized that the revolution's aftermath had resulted in religious ignorance and indifference, due to the devastation wrought on the Catholic Church in France. At the time, Sundays in rural areas were spent working in the fields, or dancing and drinking in taverns. Vianney spent time in the confessional and gave homilies against blasphemy and profane dancing. If his parishioners did not give up this dancing, he refused them absolution. His stern sermons were later collected together in the famous Sermons of the Curé of Ars, along with his moral catechetical instructions. On the 4th of August 1859, Vianney died at the age of 73. The bishop presided over his funeral with 300 priests and more than 6,000 people in attendance. Before he was entombed, Vianney's body was fitted with a wax mask. On the 3rd of October 1874, Pope Pius IX proclaimed him venerable. On the 8th of January 1905, Pope Pius X declared him blessed and proposed him as a model to the parochial clergy. In 1925, John Mary Vianney was canonized by Pope Pius XI, who in 1929 made him patron saint of parish priests.